Hello everyone, bringing you a video today talking about these. It's a look at some more 1937 pattern basic pouches. These being Australian modified basic pouches introduced late in the Second World War alongside a lot of other equipment sets which were being considered for use in the Far East. So you've got the British 1944 pattern, you've got the improved Indian jungle green 1937 pattern which we've looked at. Australia's answer to that was new components, new water bottle carrier, new braces and new pouches. There were some other items as well, but looking at those will be a topic for another video. Specifically today we're going to be looking at these. Now these are quite significantly enlarged from the normal 1937 pattern design, and the basic idea of course is to get greater capacity, so you can carry more in these in terms of rifle ammunition, grenades and so forth than you could do with the standard 1937 pattern basic pouches, which are essentially designed to take 2 Bren gun magazines or a folded bandolier with 2 grenades. That's basically the design, is to carry that sort of ammunition load. These will carry a bit more. And what we'll do now is I'll just bring up, these are both 1944 dated, so for comparison's sake I have a British 1944 dated example here. And we'll just look at the back profile. Is probably the easiest way of showing you the difference in size. You can see it's quite considerable. Otherwise the fittings are essentially standard, with the upper buckle to support these on the brace. You can see the C-hooks on the Australian examples are more widely spaced. These are slightly cruder as well. They don't have the shape to them, they're literally just rounded off. They don't have this sort of shape to them you see on British made examples. These are 2 slightly different examples. We'll talk about some of the variations of these now. These are 1944, both of them, press stud fastening on the front. You do also see post-war manufactured examples of these with the quick release fastening, similar to that which we have on the British pouch here. As you can see there, the tab and quick release fastening there, the staple at the front. That is basically what you would see on post-war manufactured examples of the Australian pouches. But as I say, these are both wartime dated, so they both have the press stud. You will also see, as well as these examples which are made of webbing material with quite a distinctive stripe to it, as you can see, they also made these in canvas as well as an economy measure, using materials other than the webbing. My understanding is that quite a lot of Australian webbing components were actually made from webbing material supplied from India, which is why you see the similar stripe in the webbing material. The Indian webbing manufacturers could produce more of the material than their capacity to actually make components out of it could deal with. So sending that over to a country which had manufacturing capacity but couldn't produce enough of its own cotton webbing made sense, of course. This example has a Nui type press stud. If we look there, you can see it's the sort of standard British style Nui press stud, and it is in fact marked Nui in there. This second one here has a more commercial type press stud. If we open that up, you can see just has a different type of press stud fastening there. This example is made by GMH, and you can see the DD, the Defence Department stamp there, and then 1944 under the lid. As you can see, same fittings on the back there, the wider spaced C-hooks and the buckle at the top to take the brace. And this, the one we were looking at previously, quite typical Australian. You're quite typical to see purple ink stamps on Australian kits. This is quite a good example of that. 1944, and then again we have the DD there. So quite interesting design, really. In terms of actual use, these were used quite extensively. You do see photographs of them very late war being worn. They do turn up very, very late in the war. But the primary use you'll see of these is post-war, and they were quite famously used in Vietnam. It's very common to see these added onto the M1956 equipment, which the Australians were using by that point, of course, to give extra carrying capacity, because they've got a much greater volume, of course, than the M1956 ammunition cases. And they can actually hold folded belts of 7.62, quite a good length, or a good enough length, and that, of course, keeps the belt clean and dry. Australians also used other methods, using sections of air mattress cut up to cover the belts and things to keep the ammunition clean. They had they were quite fastidious about that sort of thing. But I've certainly read accounts of these being used to carry folded belts of 7.62 for the M60s. So, as I say, just thought it would be interesting to have a look at these. They're quite an interesting development of the 1937 pattern, and I always like seeing this as country's own take on a web equipment that's been introduced, from another country or inspired by another country. Obviously, in the Commonwealth, it's basically everyone standardised on 1937 pattern during the Second World War in the Commonwealth and Empire. But to see different countries adapting the 1937 pattern and their own manufacturing variations and so forth is always quite interesting. So that's a look at these, as I say, two enlarged Australian 1937 pattern basic pouches. I hope you found that interesting. Just a very quick overview of those. We'll be talking about some of the other components of this equipment going forward, fingers crossed. I thought it would be useful as well because going forward I plan on doing more videos looking at Australian kit from Vietnam, and when I talk about these enlarged pouches and so forth, as I did do when I did the hanger open day video, there was one of these on, well, not one of these, another example on one of the web equipment sets there, looking at them in slightly more detail and talking about what they're for and when they were introduced and so forth, gives a little bit more history to that. So what I try and do is make the mannequin videos something of an overview, and then do little videos like this looking at the specific components in more detail, so you can link through between the two. So hopefully you found that interesting. As I say, there'll be probably see these on a mannequin at some point in the future, looking at Australian involvement in Vietnam. But that's everything for this video. Obviously, if you'd like to see more, then please do consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. You can hit the little notification bell down below as well. That will alert you when I upload future videos. There's also the Facebook and the Instagram page, which are a good place to keep up with what's going on. If you really like my videos and you'd like to support them, there's of course the Patreon page. And talking of the mannequin videos, you can vote over there if you subscribe to the Corporal tier on Patreon. You get a chance to vote on the mannequin of the month for each month on a poll. There's also the PayPal link. Very big thanks to those who've supported me on Patreon and donated through PayPal. It really is appreciated. So thank you very much indeed once again. And that's everything for now. I think I've covered everything there. So until next time, bye for now.